Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fourth and Neat. Fred Minnick here with the great Hall of Famer, Jared Allen. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing great. And because this is our Christmas edition, I wore my, my holiday curling sweater. This is a curling sweater.
That is cool. Can you give
And I know,
yeah.
Oh, you little. It's got reindeer on it. It's got a whole bunch of stuff. And don't worry, I still have a mullet. Sometimes right when I get my hair cut for the first time, and I don't like to go very often, so sometimes I have to bring it down a little shorter. The way they feather it, I don't even know if that's the right word. I can't see the curls kicking out the back. So I wanted to make sure everybody didn't think I went like super neat for Fourth and Neat.
So when
I'm not a square.
When you look at yourself, are you just first going to the curls? Like, is that the first thing you're looking for?
Always, yeah.
A little sign. We'll see what curls
because
look like.
the rest of my face is ugly. So I look through. I check out my strong suits. I'm like, yeah, look at that. Look at those ringlets back there. Good thing I'm tall because this is going away.
You're getting the crown baldness.
Yeah, my face is made for radio, not actually podcasting. So that's a plus.
I don't know, man. If the Kelsey brothers can get away with it, I think they've got faces for radio.
Let's be honest, we're all ugly.
We are all ugly.
Good thing I think I'm funny. Thing I think I'm funny.
Jacqueline, we were having a conversation the other day of like, what she, I don't know how it came up, but she's like, the number one thing that she saw in me was like, I was funny. I was like, oh, so you're saying I was ugly? And she started laughing.
Yes. That was a polite way of saying like, thank goodness the music was turned down and you made me laugh because the guy at the nightclub with the 6-pack.
He was the guy,
close.
but doubles a door now, And eventually you have to have a conversation with the person you're next to. Horrible segue for our guest today. Absolutely horrible segue. We have your former chaplain with the Minnesota Vikings, Tom Lamphere. All I know is that, Tom, you are enormous wrestling fan, and you're tied in with the Gopher.
Yes, and by the way, the coaches, Luke Becker and Brandon Eggum, make sure to say hi to both you, Fred, and Jared. So
yes, tell them I said hello.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have a picture here of when Jared talked to the team. I don't know if I can hold this up and if you can see it, but that's Jared there posing, laying down, and that's the Gopher wrestling team right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Back when he was here, so
that's incredible.
Big.
I know this Troy Steiner, he came to one of my bourbon events with his twin brother, Terry. Like all twins, they have like the same mannerisms and everything. And like, if they weren't wearing different gear, I wouldn't have been able to tell them apart.
Right. Well, that's like my wife, Jeannie. She has a twin sister, Judy. And when we were early married, I could not tell them apart. They would leave the room.
That's an awkward Christmas dinner.
They would leave the room and change clothes and come back in, and I couldn't tell them apart. But with the Steiners, it's the same thing because one's out in Colorado Springs, and so when I'm out there at the Olympic Training Center, I'll see him, and at least I know it's him because he's there. So both of them excellent wrestlers.
So the Minnesota, Jared, has the incredible distinction of being the first program to have 10 All-Americans at the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
In 2001.
Wow. That's
and they got it. And they got most of them on the backside. So these were guys that would have lost in the second or third rounds, and then came up on the backside. And so just always been a really gutsy, really good team. And one of the guys that I've actually become friends with, he's a coach out here for Bellarmine now, Brayton Lee. Did you know Brayton? Like he was.
Well, I know of him. I don't know him real personally, but absolutely.
Yeah, he All-American with Minnesota.
So how does the All-American status work in wrestling then? So is it like football where it's there's a committee that votes on it at the end of the year, or is it something that you're earned through your tournament wins?
So the NCAA tournament.
Well, it's obviously earned, but.
Yeah, so it's a tournament. So there are 33 qualifiers, and they have a pigtail that feeds in to the one seed to even out the bracket. And basically, of that, if you qualify for the national tournament, you're considered a national qualifier. Enormous accomplishment, absolutely enormous accomplishment. Yeah. But if you finish in the top 8, you'll be an All-American. in the tournament.
Oh, okay. So that's the line. If top 8, you're an All-American.
Yeah.
Wow, and they had 10?
What's
they
that?
Had 10?
8.
It said they had 10? 8. They had 8. No, I said you said
no,
Minnesota
they
had 10 All-Americans.
Yeah. Minnesota in 2001 got all 10 weights in as All-Americans.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Great program.
That's incredible.
Historic program. We're very tough.
So Tom, feed us in your wrestling background. So I'll tell people exactly how I know. So Tom, like I said, he was our chaplain when I got to Minnesota. Still is working with the team. Big wrestling guy. So we'd always talk wrestling. We'd talk sports, talk cars, all sorts of stuff like that. Fantastic human being. But let them know your wrestling journey, because don't let the old chappie fool you. He will throw a high crotch on you in a heartbeat. He will head and arm you to the ground.
I love it.
In the name of Jesus, though. They give you a noogie and a wedgie.
Well, I grew up in Minnesota. I was fortunate enough to wrestle for the University of Minnesota. And that's why I'm such a Gopher fan, being an alumni coming out, and then wrestled Greco-Roman.
Oh, yeah.
So actually went over and trained in Eastern Europe for a couple of years and that was real interesting, traveling around in Eastern Europe. The Iron Curtain was still up at that time, but great competition. And then actually my last competition was the Olympic trials. So, I wasn't big time like these other guys you're talking about, but at least I was in the company of them.
Yeah, that's the thing about wrestlers, Jared. Like, I was in the Olympic trials. I was right there. I had a shot.
That's what I'm saying.
And I wasn't big time.
I wasn't big time. I was just in Eastern Europe back when, the Iron Curtain was up. But I wasn't big time.
I wasn't anything.
Big time. Humility does not fall short with this man at all.
Oh, man.
That's what I'm telling you. You got to watch out. He'll sneak you. And then all of a sudden, Tom, all of a sudden he'll name drop some people. You're like, man, that name sounds familiar. And you go look and you're like, oh yeah, that dude was a monster, and then casually, like, Tony Dungy's one of his best friends. You're like, Tom, like, where is this? He argued he could be the most interesting man alive. I keep pulling for it. He didn't make the cut for the Dos Equis commercial, but he made my cut. I'll tell you that much. For Fourth and Neat.
I love it.
But yeah, talk about that experience though, Tom. Like, being over in those foreign countries, like, Eastern Europe obviously is hardcore wrestling, right? And then obviously the political divide at the time. How do you manage that? How do you manage, you're sitting here trying to wrestle for a spot on your nation's team, yet you're training in countries that hate your nation. How does that balance to focus on the task at hand? How are you training with the Eastern Europeans when there's such a staunch political divide at that time? How do you balance that? And then how do you supersede those tensions to have success?
Well, our country leaders didn't get along, but, in the sport of wrestling, we're all competitors, but we seem to be all friends. That's kind of unique about that sport. So when we'd go in and train with the national team for 2 weeks, they loved us coming in. We'd spend that time with them. And we, wouldn't talk much about the political end of things. We were too busy practicing and getting ready for the next competition. But this is going to date me a little bit. That was the Olympics back in 1980. That's when our government told us we couldn't go to the Olympics. So actually we found out when we were I remember we were sitting in a little apartment in Vienna, Austria, and the team director coach came in and said, guys, no one's going to the Olympics. And we said, well, yeah, but Olympic trials haven't hit yet. How do you know that? And he goes, well, our president just said no one's going. And that was, a real traumatic time for us because we were training extremely hard, but you don't train for years and then just stop. So we kept training, came back to the States, had to wrestle at the U.S. Nationals and then at the Olympic trials, but we all knew we weren't going anywhere. And I didn't win the trials, didn't come close to it. Like I said, I'm not in big time company like these other guys, but 3 of my training partners, good close friends, all won the Olympic trials, but there was no place to go. So it was a real sad time, especially for the guys who this was their year. 4 years, 84 wasn't going to be their year. 80 was their year. And they had no place to go. And some of them would have placed and some of them would have won gold. So it was tough, but it was an experience because every country we went to trained differently. And that was, you know, that was very unique. It was fun, but we just loved being with the guys. And then tournament time would come, and then we'd wrestle each other, but we were friends.
So that was Steve Frazier, Mike Houck. Was that team?
Okay, excuse you cut out for a second there. What was that again?
So that team, early '80s. That was Steve Frazier, Mike Houck.
Mike Houck actually came in '84 more so, but yeah, Mike was one of the guys. But good guy too. I really.
Who were the three guys that made it? Who were the three guys that made it that didn't get to wrestle?
Well, Brian Gus, he was a 125 pounder. And then John Hughes, actually a teammate of mine at the University of Minnesota. He was 136.5 pounds. It was in kilos. And that was the weight I was at. And then Thompson, who came out of Prior Lake, he won it too. So all three of those guys, then you had a whole number of other guys who trained so hard, so long. It'd be like Jared if you trained with the Vikings and you're going to the Super Bowl, and then our government calls the Super Bowl off. It's like,
or they miss a fumble on 4th and 1 and they give it to the Saints and they go on and win the Super Bowl. We don't get to go. Very similar.
He hasn't forgotten.
I haven't either, Jared.
I don't keep receipts though. It's cool. Yeah, they say your memory is supposed to fade with age. Mine, unfortunately,
I remember it too well. I want to block it out, but I can't.
I know. I love hearing. First of all, I imagine what it's like to be 136 pounds. That must be a totally different,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say what I love hearing those old stories. And for the listeners, I don't know if it's nostalgic for everybody, but I'm a big fan of history, right? So anytime you get to, sit and talk, and that's Tom and I's relationship based on honestly talking about stories, and him telling me about wrestling and all that stuff, and that's how it all began. And I love hearing that old time and putting it in perspective, because people, especially young kids today, probably don't even realize that we didn't go to the Olympics in the 80s. And so I think, to have that perspective, and especially in sport, right? I think that's what I want, when I talk to my kids about passion, or even you look at the dynamic of youth sports, and we talk, Fred, you and I talk about the NCAA and how crazy it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually killing sports, in my opinion. I mean, these dudes knew they weren't going. Like most people today, if they said, all right, you're not going to Olympics, they stop training, right? They're all right, well, are we going to the Worlds or whatever? Like, why am I going to go to the trials? And not like, you guys went forth, did all the training, went to the trials for something that absolutely was never going to happen. And so I'm glad you got to mention those three guys' name, because those guys they're Olympians that will never be recorded in history.
Right. Yeah.
And probably the best Greco guy from that time, from Yugoslavia, moved here when the wall. He moved here after his run with Yugoslavia, and became the U.S. national Greco coach, and he lives in Louisville now, Momir Pekovic, and just I hang out with him at least once or twice a week. Dude,
explain
by the way,
the difference between today's wrestling and Greco, by the way.
So Greco is the oldest form, and it's basically all upper body. You can't.
Tom's like, thanks for that one.
Well, it's the
it's the ancient form.
It's the ancient form.
It's the ancient Greek
and
form.
America,
it's from the original Olympics.
It was the original Olympics.
12 AD.
As Americans, we are really good on freestyle, and the folk style, which is college, is uniquely American. The international stage is Greco, and we are not even top 10 in Greco. We're getting better, but, like Peyton Jacobson placed at the U23s. He was almost placed at the Senior Worlds. So we have some weights that there's a lot of potential there. We won Pan Ams, for example. But really, Iran and Russia are just they dominate Greco. But Greco's all here. It's all upper body. A lot of throws, a lot of the suplex opportunities. Freestyle, you touch the legs.
And what drew you to that, Tom, versus freestyle? or folk style?
Well, I think I was with the Athletes in Action Wrestling team at that time, and they challenged us to come over to Eastern Europe to live, and no team had been placed there to live. We would always go compete, but then come home. So, and the main point of that is to get behind the Iron Curtain to have a witness for the Lord. So when we were with the teams, then we were working with the guys we were training with, and then we worked with the underground church. So we were trained to spot the KGB and how to stay away from them because you didn't want them after us. But it was really, I had trained so much in freestyle and collegiate style or folk style. I really wanted to change. So, and Fred, it's hard when your whole life you're grabbing legs, and now you got to train. You can't grab them. And so, but I really loved the challenge of it, of just learning something new and going into all these different countries. They loved having us. They loved Americans coming in. It kind of broke up their monotony, and they just loved having us around. Practice came around, and then we then we had to face their fury. But it was fun, and it just broke it up. I just trained so hard and so long in freestyle and folk style. I wanted something different.
Yeah.
And my coach of the team, John Peterson, he's an Olympic gold medalist. He came in and did chapel.
Yeah, I remember John. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Well, this is a good segue, Fred, into he mentioned Russia. He mentioned the KGB. So a few episodes ago, Tom, and by a little while ago, we had a Dr. Stuart Swordlow on, and he is a survivor of the Montauk Project. He's wrote a bunch of books about time travel and aliens and all that stuff. And we do a little thing on Fourth and Neat that we used to call it the Conspiracy Corner. It started getting out of hand, so we had to
dial it back a little bit.
But with that said, this being our Christmas episode, and us three as believers, right? We know what Christmas is about. It's about the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. So I want to get a theologian. Is that the right word? Theologian? A theology?
Yep.
Professor, if you will. A theologist? I don't know if that's the right word. But anyways, a man who obviously has a degree in all this. We want to get your take on the concept of aliens, because we've been hearing a lot about now in the government. There's new documentaries coming out saying that there is proof that there is legit aliens out there, human life form. There's a race for this alien technology, or not human life form. There's life forms. So with the idea of creation, right,
and
being behind a creator, what is the take on that? What if people say like, oh, because Dr. Swirlo was like, well, you think God only created humans? You don't think he created other beings? You don't think he created other things? So we wanted to get someone who we trusted on our side of things to get your take on it. And Tom, Tom knows this is why I knew Tom would be great for this, because I bring Tom down rabbit holes all the time with questions. So your take on aliens there, Professor Lamphere?
Well, Fred, first of all, I got to give you a little background. Jared at Team Bible Study that he would host at his house with Amy. And Jared would always ask questions where I would go, I've never thought of that before. How in the world can you come up with that? And being an honest man, I would say, Jared, I don't know. Let me research that, biblically. And so Jared would always come up, and he wasn't trying to be a jokester. That's just how he thinks. I learned that. And so with this, question on aliens, first of all, the Lord is very unorthodox. He doesn't work like we work. He doesn't exist in time like we do. He does things that look at the birth of Jesus. Here is Jesus who created the universe, and he's coming down to be born, and Mary has to ride on the back of a donkey for a long way in her 9th month to have the baby in a barn. And I'm going, that's really not the way we would dream it up. So when it comes to aliens, it doesn't say anything in the Bible either way. And so I look at that and say, maybe God did. Maybe God created. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. There's a lot of things biblically that I don't know, but I will know when I get to heaven. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Lord created beings somewhere else. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is his only plan. I don't know, but I love listening to it. I love hearing Jared talk about these.
Well, and that's the thing, because Dr. Swirlo said that in Russia, I can't remember what parallel he used, but there's in Russia, probably up in the what's the word I'm looking for? Where do you say it was? I'll mispronounce the name, but anyways,
it was an underground base.
It was like Siberia, right? That's the word I was like the Siberian area. Anyways, it was up in Russia, like Siberia area or whatever. There's an underground base shared by both human and aliens. But it's also funny you say that, right? Because it's like, I kind of laugh and joke, and we talk about time travel. We talk about things like that. It's all got started because we were joking, or not joking, we were going down the rabbit hole of if the producers of The Simpsons time traveled, because they've predicted like 35 different events over the years, right? Like, it's kind of weird. And even look at like what AI is doing right now. Remember the movie Eagle Eye? I feel like we're living the movie Eagle Eye right now with artificial intelligence. So I'm like, and I think someone posted in the comments, like, if you believe in faith, like, if you believe in Jesus who you've never seen, like, how do we know there's not alien? How do you know there's not time travel? How do you know? But you bring up a good point, right? And this is where my brain goes. This is why I think, Tom, we have fun conversation, because God does not exist in the time and frame of how we perceive it, right?
Right.
And so you start thinking like, well, if he's omnipresent, this, you got angels. Unfortunately, you have demons that are that aren't seen and traveling through a different pretty much space and time. Completely. Maybe there is something to the frequency stuff.
Well,
maybe there is. Maybe there's some weird thing. I mean, just listen. If I could tap into the heaven frequency and I could just be like, Jesus.
Got a question here. We're at Bible study right now, and I just wanted to know about this.
I need to be like Moses. I need to see the burning bush, hear the voice right now, because I got a question. I need answers. But yeah, so I too have been searching and not found any aliens, but I wanted to get your perspective on that. And it's interesting to me. See, Tom might be a believer. He might be a believer in aliens.
So here's where, Tom, I've always kind of like, I've had this notion of like, well, where the doubt for aliens comes from is that my impression from the Bible has always been that we are the most important thing to God's creations, like humans. I've always thought that. So I've always just had this thought of like, well, aliens would be more important to us because they would have more technology. They would have all this and that. Or, I don't know. So I guess that's why we're coming to you to answer these questions, since Jared doesn't have a pipeline to heaven yet.
Well, I do. Well, you just have to
the frequency. Yeah.
I just wanted like a direct phone call.
He just want to make a phone call. Yeah. He doesn't have the phone number yet.
I'm like, and that's one of the things that Dr. Swirlo said, that if you know the correct frequencies and time, you can travel there instantly. Where he got me a little bit was when he said he went back to the time of Christ, that he physically went back to the days of Christ.
Yeah.
And
that's where he lost
I was a little taken aback there. I was like, well, and and but yeah, so I mean, again, we laugh at Joe. We try to make things fun, but it's all seriously, because anybody that knows myself, knows my deep rooted faith. But I do love these type of topics, because I'm a firm believer that that Christ wants us to seek, right, and not just believe blindly. And I've really been on this kind of path lately in my own spiritual life, because so many things, you read your Bible, some people take it literally, some people take passages figuratively, right? Some things that say, oh gosh, what's parable, right? There's a lot of parables in the Bible too, but one thing that always crosses my mind: when you're seeking for something, you're searching. And Christ tells us so much times he wants us to search for him. He wants us to seek him, right? If you look for me, right, you will find me. And so, but these topics are cool because, again, if you believe Christ was the creator of the universe, right, and you believe God is is our overall creator, which I do, then these galaxies, right? These galaxies are crazy. Like, what was his purpose for it? What is that possible? Is there this? Is there that? Are aliens as we believe them? Are they angels? I don't know. Like, I got all these questions.
Yeah.
Tom, your turn.
Well, it's like the Apostle Paul, who was so close to the Lord. And he said, right now I look into a mirror and I look at it dimly. I don't know every. I just have so many questions, but I will know when I get to heaven. And I mean, I love talking about things, but a lot of times we don't have the answers for them, but it doesn't mean we can't talk about it. But two, it comes back when Jesus, when he arose from the dead, and then he appeared to his apostles, and he had to reinstate Peter, who had denied him 3 times. And he kept asking Peter, Peter, do you love me? And Peter kept saying, you know, I do. And then the apostle John happened to become walking up, and Peter points at John and goes, what about him? And Jesus says, what about him? If I want him to do this and do that, I'll have him do it. But you just follow me. So I think the main thing in it is, yeah, we can ask a lot of questions and we can look at, but the main thing that Jesus wants us is he says, just follow me. And then someday, Fred and Jared will be up in heaven, and we'll have all these answers. Jared, if you get all the answers to all of your really far out questions, it's like, what's going to happen? That part of Jared won't be there anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, but I mean, but I'll have wisdom. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
It is funny. I just think, like, again, to believe it, everybody can argue on how long the world's been around, but since we've been keeping time, with the AD realm, it's over 2,000 years. I think this question. I mean, growing up, people did the same thing. I just think it's crazy that in 2000, almost 26, they're just kind of, our government's kind of like, yeah, like, yeah, UFOs, here you go. We can't explain this. Yeah, you know what? We're going to put some high-ranking officials to talk about aliens, talk about time. What is going to happen if in another 25 years, Fred, they find out, literally, they're like, oh yeah, we can just time warp to Mars. It's cool. Like, oh, come on. Well, come on. 40 some odd years later.
I think
all
this
time wasted.
Unless the people in power can make money off of it, they won't reveal it. Like,
do you know how much money you can make on selling? Listen, if I could time travel to the East Coast or to Europe, are you kidding me? Versus a 9-hour flight sitting next to some like smelly person. I don't know.
Who is controlling? Like, how much money can the people make off of that versus where the money is now? I think that's one of the things that you see. Like, anytime someone comes up with a cure for cancer, they're dead in like 3 days, or like they come up with clean energy. It's like, they didn't just fall or have a suicide moment. They were killed most likely because someone else was gonna lose money off of it, right?
Like, there was one. Goodness, they actually made a. I think there was a movie about it, but there was a guy, because I only know it because he worked for the San Jose Mercury News. I think it was back in the. I want to say, I'm going to give myself a 20-year time period, like late 70s, early 90s. But they found him, or it might have been even sooner than later than that. But he like shot himself twice. I don't. How do you shoot yourself twice? I don't know. They found 2 gunshots in him, and they called it a suicide. Recent. He was, what it was? I think it was more. He had even written a letter basically saying he thought people were after him. He was a guy that exposed something back in the 70s. I think back when we were with doing deals with like the Nicaraguan drug cartels and that kind of stuff, Panama days. But yeah, I'll never forget, because I know he just worked for the Mercury News, and I don't remember the time period when I read this. So forgive me on my dates. Don't
Gary
quote me on
Webb.
that. But he shot himself twice. There you go.
In 2004, he actually began his career in Kentucky. It was a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist.
Yeah. How do you, again? I don't know how that works. And the fact that they're explaining that one away. No, shot himself twice. It's cool. It happens. Like, did you miss the first time? I don't know. See, fake news there. But anyways, I digress. See, Tom, this is where we get. This is why we need our chaplain on here.
I have a question for you, Jared. Is there a conspiracy with all those sacks that you got, but you never were given those sacks? Because if you got those, you'd be the all-time sack leader today. And actually, they did something on it and showed all those sacks. And I said, yeah, that's a sack. But then they took one away from you, or only gave you a half. So was there a conspiracy there by someone in the NFL that wanted someone else to have that?
Clearly. I mean, listen, unlike aliens, I have video proof. There's irrefutable video evidence that I had the 23rd sack. If they want to have a ruling, again, I argue, how can it be a team sack and not give it to the guy who made the tackle.
You
see what I'm saying? And I'm on the team. So by default, I get a minimum of a half or a whole. But yeah, they clearly didn't, they didn't want me to have it. They took it from me on Wednesday. So we'll see. Although I don't know if anybody, there's no conspiracy that's going to stop Myles Garrett. I don't think that dude is on that dude might be an alien. He might be an alien, Fred.
He might be.
Myles Garrett. He is doing things that are out of this world. Myles Garrett might be an alien.
And it's horrible. And it's the same thing that you experienced. He's on such a bad team that, they can't even give their quarterback the right wrist thingy for the play calls. Did you see that? What's the thing they put on the arm, the sheath? What is that? What do they call that?
The play call.
The play call.
Sheath?
Sheath? I don't know. What do you call it?
A wristband?
The wristband. So his big wristband thingy. So they gave Shedeur Sanders the wrong play card.
I feel like we're going to the. Oh my! Now that's a conspiracy right there. Yeah. Come on, Stefanski. You're better than that.
Yeah,
You're better than that, Stefanski.
Like everyone was saying, like they're holding Shedeur down. And I'm like, no. Then that happened. I'm like, there's some truth to this. Like somebody at Cleveland doesn't like Shedeur.
There's some truth to that. Well, there's probably many reasons for that, but my goodness, poor kid. Like at least give him the right play card again. So Tom, I'm not sure how much you're still doing with the Vikings and stuff like that. I know you're in and out of the building still, but
still am.
Probably not like you were. We were there. Good. So how are you helping the guys deal with a disappointing season like this, right? So from a spiritual side of things, especially coming around Christmas time like that, how do you use, because as you know, it's easier to talk to people about, Christ or bringing new people to faith when things are going good because, everybody's jolly. When they're going through some struggles, when they're having a season that, isn't matching up to expectations. As a chaplain, how do you try to manage that? How do you try to stay relatable? And how do you view your position as helping, guys with their careers and not letting the wheels fall off?
Well, I don't work with players anymore. I brought in a guy to work with players, but I'm working with coaches, front office people, and Jeannie with the wives. But it really comes down to priorities. So with the coaches, I mean, this has been a tough year for them. Last year they went 14-3 and didn't win the playoff game, but yet won all those games. But it's keeping your priorities straight, whether you're winning or you're losing. It should not change. And so that's what I keep in front of these guys is your number one priority has to be the Lord. That can't change. And that's what Jesus said. You have your choice of building your house on sand, which is shifting, or on the rock, which will remain. And both of them get hit. But the one built on the rock remains, the one on the sand doesn't. And so I keep telling them, don't build your coaching career on the shifting sands of the NFL, because most coaches get fired. That's just life. But keep Jesus first. Then your wife has to be second if you're married, and then your children third, and then football's further on down the line. And that's what Coach Dungy always quotes out of the Bible, where Jesus says, what is a profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? So I just keep hammering that, but it's hard. And you know that, Jared, the schedule that you guys are on, especially coaches, it's just draining. And I said, you have to fight for it. You got to fight for it. You have to fight for it. But also too, where it says in the Bible, whatever you do in life, work at it with all of your heart, not for man, but for God. And that's what I keep telling these coaches. You have to, and at the University of Minnesota, working with coaches over there as well, is that you have to work at it with all of your heart, but you're not doing it for man. You're doing it for the Lord. So whether you win or lose, that's not going to change your perspective on it. It's not going to change your priorities. And sometimes it's a little bit easier to get their attention when they're losing, because then they're kind of looking around.
Yeah.
When they're winning, it's, hey, everything's going great. But, that's, kind of what
so I would. That when they're losing, they're looking for straws to grasp on, something that can right the ship. When they're winning, sometimes you're just taking all the credit yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it is a tough balance, right? And then you're dealing with alpha males, right? You're dealing with people that have to have a certain level of confidence in themselves,
yes,
to go through. And so the humility to give that to someone else is tough, and it's a battle. I don't think the fans truly understand the importance of spirituality in all. I mean, it's obviously in life, but especially in sports and high levels. And and where's that pull and tug, and you see guys. I mean, for example, I mean, look at Phillip Rivers. 44 years old, grandpa coming back and dang near winning a game against Seattle out there. Philip is a staunch believer, and I don't know at 44 years old I'm getting out there without the power of Christ. You know what I mean?
Dude is a great. You got people calling you Jared. I mean, people keep saying like they could use your help. So
And honestly, I feel bad for the Vikings this year. They did not get to the quarterback at a very good rate. It was down from years past, and some of the top guys, whether dealing with injury or not, didn't get the numbers that they needed. So, but I can promise you this: I would need about 2 years on every legal supplement you could possibly get to get the muscle structure back.
So, Tom,
to even think about it. And then the first time I put my hand down and some 25-year-old dude hit me in the mouth, I might blow a hamstring. There's a chance that happens.
But at least you'd have a guarantee on the contract, right? At least half guarantee with a bonus.
100%. Hey, listen, you don't got to be a dummy.
Yeah. So, Tom, what are the things that I find fascinating about the chaplain's role? In the military, we had a chaplain, and there'd be people of all faiths, and they would serve everyone. They would do their best to find them the religious outlet that they needed, but there would be one chaplain in charge over like an entire brigade, and people. And sometimes they would have to farm out, bring in someone from the community or something like that to help these soldiers. You obviously are not, dealing with players who are all Christian, right? You're probably going to have Jewish players, you're going to have Muslim players, you're going to have different sects of Christianity, from Baptist to Methodist to Catholicism. How did you manage that and work with them based on their faith?
Well, just keeping it very simple. For the team, there will be a chapel, and then we have a team priest who does mass. And so they can choose, it's all voluntary. So, they can choose to go to that. And then basically when I'm talking to anybody, I just keep Jesus at the center of it and listen to what everyone says. My faith is in Jesus, and so I just talk about Jesus. So, in the military, you probably have a bigger group and a much more wider group, within the NFL. Usually it's a group, and there are some men who come from the Jewish faith and some men from the Muslim, but it's just making friends. Jared, look at the guys that you played with. They weren't all believers, but you were a team with them. They were your friends, and you were there to walk that path with them. So I think with it, Fred, is just walking the path with these people and trying to find common ground. I mean, there were a bunch of guys who would not come to chapel, but I said, if I can get Dan Gable to come to chapel, will you come? And they said, we'll come. And a whole bunch of guys came because of Dan Gable. And then I had John Peterson, another Olympic gold medalist there. But even Mike Zimmer, who was our head coach, he would go to mass, but he'd never come to chapel. But both times I had Gable in, he was there front row. And so I always try to find common ground and just see how I can help. But it's just building relationships. That's the real important part. It's not the preaching end of it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's part of it, but it's building relationships to where then maybe they'll give me the opportunity to talk to them about Jesus, but maybe they won't.
Over the years, there's been a lot of players that, they win, something positive happens to them, and then they are very pronounced with their faith when they're interviewed. And sometimes they get a lot of criticism from the media and fans for that. Is that something that you track at all? Does that ever bother you to see like people's reactions to when someone professes their faith on TV?
Well, no, because that's what Jesus told his apostles. He said, hey, the world's not going to like you. In fact, he said, the world's going to hate you, but take heart, they hated me first. And so anytime that you use the name of Jesus, there are going to be people that push back. But if you do it in the right way, and Jared, you did it in such an honorable way in your Hall of Fame induction where you talked about the Lord, but it was in relation to your family. If you make it your own story, then I tell the guys what it's like with Case Keenum when he threw the Minnesota Miracle. Actually have the talk with guys. If the microphone's put in your face, know what you're going to say ahead of time. And if you're going to give glory to the Lord, use the name of Jesus. Don't just say, I want to thank God. I want to thank Jesus. And so, yeah, there is pushback, but these guys like Jared, in a very, very real way, in an honoring way, talk about their faith in the Lord. Jared, when you're at the Hall of Fame, and I wish Jeannie and I were there. Thanks for inviting us, but it was.
They were invited. Yeah, my own pastor turned me down. I mean, he married me. And he turned me down for the Hall of Fame. My gosh.
No, I just know what it's like. The humility. I know what it's like getting there and getting around.
It is not easy. You are 100% correct. I told everybody, please do not think this is an obligation.
But Jared, after you did that, it's like my phone lit up with people texting me. Man, did you hear what Jared had to say? But you did it in the right way. And really, Fred, that's how I work with players and coaches, is do it in the right way. You're not preaching. You're just talking about who Jesus means to you, who he is in your life.
Yeah.
You're not pushing
I think the biggest thing, especially with athletes, and Fred's probably similar in the military, right? Like, people respect those who do, right? Like, if you look at someone's life and their life is a mess and they're saying, oh, praise God, you're probably like that's probably not the right. Oh, that's a little struggle bus, right? But with guys like Tom, like when you see how he loves his wife, Jeannie, like when you see how he's kind of like you said, we're talking cars, we're talking wrestling, we're talking this, and the stigma of that whole like, oh, my pastor's judging me, or I have to put on this persona that and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Tom thinks about you, it doesn't matter what your priest thinks about you, right? Your vertical relationship with Christ is all that matters. And you go back to that Hall of Fame speech, and even when as I grew in my faith, I was always reminded in the Bible, Jesus tells us, do not worry about what you're going to say. When Peter and Paul and all those guys were in front of the Sanhedrins, I mean, he'd always say, like, I'll give you the words, and it's funny how it played out, because the whole time, Amy and everybody at the hall was like, when are you going to send us a copy of your speech? Or Amy, how are you doing with your speech? Did you meet with the speechwriter? I'm like, I got it. I'm good.
That's awesome.
But I did not know that it was going to have the impact it did. Just trying to be sincere. And I think that's the biggest thing with alpha males, right? Like with guys that are hard driven, hard minded, that are elite at what they do. We are attracted to and relate to authenticity, right? You have to be real. Like, so if we genuinely believe that you believe, if you're genuinely living that faith, and we have things in common, and we see an authentic person, and you're like, that dude's awesome, right? And those barriers come down, you can change guys' lives that way. And that's what Tom does a great job at. And that's why we wanted to have Tom on for our Christmas episode, because
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? It's not about the gifts, it's not about the presents. It's changing hearts for Christ. It's being kind to people in a world of hate.
There's
it's
a lot of hate
firm,
out there.
and
that's for sure.
It's standing firm. But what's funny? I'm listening to the book Mere Christianity right now by C.S. Lewis.
Wow.
And he brings up a fact in there, and it really changed the way I view just kind of our society and world. He says, why are you shocked that as a Christian or as a believer that you might be treated bad? Why are you shocked that you're going to go through struggles? You got to remember, we live in an occupied land, right? The devil fell to earth. And I was like, oh my gosh, like when you think about that, it kind of puts up your senses and puts up your thing to where, yeah, you got to expect, if you're going to let your faith dictate, based on the responses you're getting in those days or in that moment, then what are you doing? Like, we live in an occupied land. You should expect that there's going to be hardships. We said, but how you handle that, and I think that's what sports prepares us for, right? It's not when you face adversity; it's how you react to it.
Absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, Tom, this has been absolutely fantastic. To hear your incredible story and wrestling and like your faith and how you've helped others. I'm curious, what are your Christmas traditions? Cookies, presents, trees? Give us a scoop.
Well, my mother was born and raised in Germany. My father met her after World War II, brought her back here. So German cooking is what I came up with. So the kids always like it when I make sauerbraten, knödels, spätzle,
nice.
sauerkraut, blaukraut, which is blue kraut. So that's what we're having for Christmas.
Blue kraut? What is blue kraut?
Never heard of that.
Well, it's
never heard of it. Come on, you can't just drop these delicacies on us and not expand here, Tom. I mean, come on now.
It's cabbage that is actually kind of purplish blue.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Oh, so sauerkraut with like purple cabbage?
Yes. Exactly. And then Jeannie makes the Lebkuchen, which is, thumbprint cookies. So our kids grew up with it.
Okay.
So when they come, that's what they like. And they like the sauerkraut very sour. Don't try to sweeten it up. They're
okay.
They're a
What's the key? What's the key to making good sauerkraut?
Don't put anything in it. Just find a brand that is real sour and then just warm it up. My mother.
Oh, you're not making it from scratch.
No. That's one thing I don't make from scratch.
Tom, Jared is judging you now. I'm just telling you. Jared,
never.
Every time there's a food thing comes up and he asks a little question like that, like, you're not making it from scratch. Oh, you're putting a preservative in there?
Well, actually, when Jeannie and I lived in Fairbanks, Alaska, there was a couple that lived out in a log cabin that did make their own sauerkraut. They'd have a big barrel of it. So
let that ferment. Fermentation's good for the gut.
Yes, that's good for you.
I love sauerkraut.
So have you ever been to Germany for Christmas, like at the Christmas markets and all that stuff?
Oh yes. Well, when I was living over there, then I would go to. My mother's was from Bavaria, the southern part, so I would go visit my family who are all Germans over there.
By the way, that's like the creme de la creme of like desserts. Like the best pastry place, maybe outside of like some parts of France, but that area, wow, you can have some good eating there, Jared. All organic, by the way.
Yes,
Europe is pretty solid. Europe is pretty safe to eat at. Absolutely, we're big fans.
Right. Hey, one thing I don't want to forget, the two coaches for the Gopher wrestling team, Luke Becker, Brandon Eggum, and Tony Dungy, all invite the both of you, Fred and Jared. And I know this is a long shot, but they want to know they'd love to have you there April 18th to the big wrestling gala that they're going to be having. In fact, Jared, you did it once years ago, and that was probably
it's fun. It's a good time.
So anyway, I just had to.
But for Fred, as a first timer, you have to wear a singlet.
I got one ready. I still do it. So yeah, heck yeah, let's go. I'm like, so I was like,
that's Fred's Christmas tradition.
Yeah.
Fred's Christmas tradition.
I'm all out in my singlet. Well, I was hanging out with Hilger not too long ago. So like, yeah, I'd love to go to that.
Well, the invitation to both of you is just to come to be a part of the Minnesota wrestling community. It's not asking for donations. It's not asking for a thing ahead of time. It's just
like my youngest has a volleyball tournament, but if Amy can handle it, and Brinley doesn't have anything. It is a good event. I tell you what, it is a good event.
That would as a Gopher alumni to have both you guys there. I mean, that would be so cool. And then, of course, then you got Tony there. So the three of you, boy, that'd be a good trio. So I don't know if you have Fred, if you had a chance to spend any time with Tony Dungy.
I met him at Jared's Hall of Fame event, and it was real brief, but it was just like, honestly, it was like a walking beam of light. Like, I don't know how else to describe him. It was just like, I was like, man, you are a holy dude. Just like it is like half of Jared's party was like his friends who were like, we had to keep away from the bourbon bar after a while, And then there's Dick Vermeil and Tony Dungy, all these really incredible good people, and the other half's like, woo, party.
Yeah, Jared, kind of like at your wedding.
Oh yeah, it was Tom. It was the same crowd. It was my wedding. It was pretty much my wedding, minus some people. But yeah, that's what it was.
I mean, Jeannie and I go back to that all the time. It was at Drake Hotel, wasn't it?
Yep. Classiest trashy event. Yeah,
it was
the classiest trashiest event in the place.
I mean, those guys were just. I heard all the clatter behind us when I was up there with you and Amy, and I'm hearing all this clatter behind us. And I'm going, those guys. I don't know what those guys are doing, but I'm not going to turn around and look because I'll start laughing.
Well, I'll tell you what, his Idaho State buddies, all your Idaho State buddies, like, man, I feel like you might let the Lord lapse a little bit when you're hanging out with those guys, Jared. You go back to a 20-year-old kid when you're with those guys.
No, listen, I'm very open about so I grew up in the church, right? But man, I was on a heart rate monitor relationship for quite some time. You know what I mean? Peaks and valleys. It was peaks and valleys for sure. Yeah, Idaho State was you know what it was? we all were basically big school recruits that, got in trouble and ended up at Idaho State. And so we thought we were just doing what all the big schools were doing. And then we found out that we were just absolutely borderline insane. And some of those guys don't get out of the house much. So when they do, it's full tilt. You know what I mean?
Well,
but here's the deal. I will say this. I do make sure I surround myself with good people at their core. And I know the best part about that group is my group, all the group there is that everybody mingles. You don't ever feel like you have to entertain people. And we can shoot each other straight as the day is long.
And they strike
if you're
me.
Being an idiot, you're being an idiot.
And here's what I loved about that crew. They strike me as like, if anything ever happens to you or you need support, they're there without hesitation. That's right. What struck me from them.
Yeah, for the most part, for sure. So we always try to keep a good small group. There's a couple of them that probably won't show up, but yeah. But for the most part, I mean, there was a couple there that were just for the party. You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody's got a couple of those. Like, oh, I ain't seen this guy in 15 years, and all of a sudden there's free, an open bar. Here he shows up. I get it. I get free food. Fred Minnick serving bourbon and open bar. Yeah, count me in.
That's
Good
funny.
To see you.
Man,
it was a great event. But yeah, you're right. Tony is definitely I think what it is, his reputation precedes him, and then so people have an expectation, and then when you meet him, he's very genuine. Even as he's getting older, he's very genuine, right? And so his reputation matches, the in person matches what you're assuming. And so many times people have those don't meet your hero moments, right? And I think Tony's one of those guys that when you meet him, he's just genuinely a kind person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see that because, as you know, even men of God will fall, but I think Tony's done a great job of just being himself and owning his testimony, owning his ministry, right? And he's done a great job of ministering through his actions, I think. And I think that's what is one thing great about Tony. And Tom's up there too. Like, and Tom will never talk about himself. So it's always fun times.
Talking about Jared, Fred, did Jared tell you that Tony Dungy gave him the honor of being the recipient for the Uncommon Award? Did he tell you anything about that?
I don't know about this.
Oh my goodness, that is huge because Tony decides on that. It's not a committee, and I don't know where you keep that sculpture that Tony gave you.
Well, I'll show you here real quick. I got a lot of stuff to pop up, but it's right here. Dang it!
You're still there.
Oh, okay. You know what? I got too many wires, but it's literally right behind us, right on the other side of my desk. It's out there. It's out there for everybody to see. It is the heaviest trophy I've ever received in my life. So it's the Uncommon Man of the Year award, and it's been given to Kevin Warren, the president of the Bears, has won it, and so Tony has put this together to obviously help support Tom and Jeannie in their ministry as well, but also to recognize greatness and not greatness from a monetary standpoint or a success standpoint, but more so, successful people that are honoring Christ, you know what I mean? And people that are out there. And what's really cool about that event is that it brings a lot of community leaders together that have been crazily successful, right? And then you start hearing their testimony, you start hearing how they're implementing, the Lord in their businesses, in their practices, right? Like True North companies and stuff like that. Like it was a cool experience to see, how people are not necessarily using that traditional mode of witnessing and Bible beating people, but doing it through, through work, doing it through their hiring practices, doing it through the messaging they send to their companies, right? Doing it through sports, doing it through just, humor, talking, camaraderie. So it's a cool event, and I was really honored to accept it. Almost threw my back out lifting the trophy, but other than that, fantastic.
That's funny.
Can we talk about this real quick before we get off? I want to get Tom's advice on this. I want to talk about this. So my daughter she dances too, right, for her school. And so we watch some of these dance competitions, and you watch this. Why is it that the competition dancers have to make the most random faces? Like, and even my daughter, I'm like, what was the point? Like, you're supposed to make facial expressions. Like, they're like dancing like, I don't get it. Somebody please embark on me. What's the point of the facial expressions for competition cheer and dance teams? I don't get it. Fred.
I don't either.
Well, they're trying. You remember jazz hands? Did you ever do jazz hands? Like they're just trying
jazz hands. Are you kidding me? Spirit fingers?
They're trying to like give you like something. Here's another thing is like.
I feel like they went into full AI mode. And it's like robotics. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
but if they don't do it, they get docked. I mean, go watch one of those cheerleading documentaries.
Is that a line item on the scorecard?
Yeah, you got like
Goofy face,
some.
Like,
you got like this judgmental mom who cheered.
Nope, not enough duck lips.
Not enough
duck lips on that routine.
And then they're like,
not enough.
Could there have been more Botox there? You know.
And it's like I'm like watching a girl do a flip, and I'm like, that's cool. And then they land, they're like, I'm like, what's going on? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's crazy. But speaking of facial expressions,
the facial expressions get.
So the young, what are we calling them? Gen Alpha, like the 11, 13-year-olds. I think they're Gen Alpha. I don't know. Whatever generation
is that
they
the
are.
name they're giving them?
I think so. I don't know. I may have it wrong.
I feel like you can't be Gen Alpha unless you're like super badass. You know what I mean?
I think I don't know.
Be Alpha, you don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Who comes up with these names anyway? But
yeah,
so
like
they have this.
Gen, let's figure it out. Let's just be like Gen. Maybe they'll be good.
It's all about marketing. It's just a way to market to them. But they have these like facial expressions.
Gen Beta.
Beta.
Oh, and right, like Gen Beta. Like you're just ruined. Gen Beta is gonna be like. Ooh.
They all have this look where they're like, but it's like.
Let's get Tom to Tom. What is your opinion on today's generations? Let's say from 20 or let's say 25 and under. I mean, because what generation are you? Are you a boomer? Are you old enough to be a boomer?
Yeah, I'm a baby boomer.
Okay. And you
didn't just boomer him, did you, Jared? He did that organically.
Gee, well, I know Jared loves organic. He's got a restaurant up here that is organic that he always likes going to.
Yeah. What is the name of it? I forgot.
Yeah, that's where Jeannie's going to take the Viking wives here in a couple weeks for their year end.
Perfect. Why did I just go blank on it? I have a T-shirt with it and everything. It's like Olivia's, I think. Yeah, I think it's like Olivia's organic kitchen. Yeah.
That's where Jeannie takes them.
Good. But yeah, all right. So what is your take on this new generation of humans? And I'm not the aliens, the humans.
The aliens might be easier to figure out. Fred and Jared, it's like it. Jeannie and I have been doing this for a while. I'm not going to tell you because then Jeannie gets mad at me because then they'll know how old she is. But every generation, I just have to spend a lot of time listening to them, really, really listening, finding out what motivates them. And not that I never try to be like them, but I need to try to understand them. But again, that comes back to building a relationship to where they'll kind of open up and talk. So every generation's different. I mean, back in mine, if we had long hair, we were the bad people. We have to have short haircuts and just everything around it. So every generation has different pressure, different way of performing. But again, I mean, I'm a chaplain, so this is what I have to do. It all comes back to the most important thing is Jesus.
So do you have to know all the brain rot? Do you have to know all the brain rot words? Like, about 6'7", 41, skippy dippy.
No, Jared, you know that. I never tried to. Jared, I never tried to be one of you guys. Jared would bring almost the whole defensive line and linebackers and everyone, and I was just myself. I wasn't going to try to be one of them. I could never be a Jared, that's for sure. But
never get him to wear the full Santa outfit. Never get him to wear the full Santa outfit, Fred.
Hey, we have pictures Fred, if you want pictures, we have pictures that Jeannie took of our Christmas parties.
All right.
Yeah, you won that. We have a video of you holding up the trophy.
I probably should have been wearing. I should have been wearing a singlet. That's how tight it was. It was a full body spandex Santa suit. I didn't realize people were bringing the kids. It was a little revealing for Bible study, but full spandex.
My God.
Hey, you know what?
It's so Jared.
Fred, we have stories.
Yeah.
But I'd have to bring Jeannie into this because she remembers so many of them. We relive them all the time.
Yeah, see those boomers, that generation's losing their mind already.
Well, that's on that note, everybody.
I was hoping we were going to get some like harsh pastor judgment on the on this alpha, so-called alpha generation.
He's trying to be a good person.
And the 6'7" and the 41 and the risen everybody up.
I'm just a white guy that grew up in Minnesota, and I'm a wrestler. So that's kind of my identity outside of, with Jesus. But, I came from the world of wrestling, and that's, my kids, my wife think it's a little bit weird, but that's who I am. I keep saying, my girls, especially when they're in high school, Dad, what's wrong with you? And I say, what do you expect? I'm a wrestler. So that's just the way it is. Fred, Fred about wrestling.
Yep. I wasn't
any good. Weird. It is weird for your kids. It is weird for your kids when you pick them up wearing your headgear.
My kids don't want to wear headgear. I'm like, you're going to get cauliflower ear. Like, I don't care. That's cool. It's tough.
Fred, that's the way it is.
They had to wear headgear.
No, not all tournaments. Yeah.
No, you just have to wear them during the meets. You don't have to wear them in practice.
Not even. It's slowly, it's slowly getting like recommended and not being forced.
Wow. We have to wear them.
Yeah. It's changing all around because there's a lot of stoppages for headgear. Kids hate it. And the real damage comes in practice. If people are like, well, what's the point, right? If you're going to not wear it to practice.
Explain to people what cauliflower ear is, because it is a painful, well, I should say getting rid of it is painful.
Yeah, so basically, you blow up a blood vessel or pop, in your, blow up your cartilage or something like that in your ear, and there's nowhere for the blood to go, so it thickens. And so, like, when I get it, like, I drain it. So I got it a little bit, and I got it here, and I got it here. So I get it in these two spots, and I'll drain it every time I get it. So, like, I'll put a syringe in there and suck out the blood, and yeah.
I've heard if you get it bad enough, it's painful. Like all my UFC buddies, they're obviously closed. They can't even put their earbuds in,
Yeah, it's a problem.
I guess they have to cut it open and like pack it with gauze, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's very common. Once you get it, like it'll like the slightest like little bit will irritate it and swell it up. So yeah. But if you got it and you're in public,
that's right.
No one's gonna mess with you. So
see, all these kids these days, all they want for Christmas is cauliflower ear. Well, good. Let's give it to them. Some of them need to have their ears cupped.
Sadly, I think my son is one of them. He's just all walking around like, give me cauliflower ear. So I don't care.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
All right, y'all. Well, hey, Merry Christmas. Tom, real honor having you on. Incredible conversation. Always awesome to talk to a fellow wrestler, especially one who, wrestled at Minnesota and is still tied to that incredible program, just absolutely incredible program that they have in Minnesota. So we're going to see if we can go to that little barbecue there in April. That'd be fun.
Yeah, and if you want to come the night before, if you want to come on the 17th, which is Friday night, that's when Tony Dungy has his Uncommon Award dinner.
Oh.
And Jared can tell you about that. Why don't you come to that? But then you'd have to have 2 nights away. Because it'd be Friday night and then Saturday night.
Well, I might bring my boy up and throw him in a camp there or something.
Oh yeah,
Jared,
that would actually be cool. That would actually, honestly, they would. I will say this: the guys at the U, they are, and that's the University of Minnesota, not Miami. They are awesome. Honestly, those coaches, staff down there, they are a big family. I mean, they've always welcomed us there anytime. Like honestly, I think if your son wanted to come up and work out with them, they would 100% open it up and roll out the carpet. Those guys are awesome. But yeah, Tom, we will definitely keep in touch on this. My whole life come January revolves around volleyball tournaments.
Yes.
And I have the disprivilege of my kids playing at 2 separate clubs. So Amy and I are going to be doing this every weekend.
Yep. Just understand it.
Yeah.
That's how I am with wrestling. I feel you, man. That's a lot of driving.
Our generation's still raising kids. Tom's on the back 40. He's over there just having a cold beer, spoiling grandkids. Saving souls. Like, it's a good life, Tom. It's a good life.
Well, Jared, Jeannie and I, paid our dues with 5 kids. So We did a lot of driving back then.
Tom is also the greatest consigliere of life, right? When you're like, hey, any questions? My kids called him. They couldn't say Tom when they were young, so they called him Conk.
That's
right. It's Mr. Conk.
Oh, I like that actually. That's a good nickname.
Mr. Conk.
That's going to do it for this episode. Tom, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to getting to know you more and trying some of the blue sauerkraut later on.
That'd be great.
Yeah, what's it called?
Sauerkraut.
Yeah, sauerkraut.
Give that a shot. All right, hang on real tight though, Tom. Everyone, make sure you like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Go follow us on Instagram and leave a review if you get a chance. We're a young and growing podcast, and soon we will be in every household in the world. Cheers.
Taking over.